Good morning, YouTube. I am Prepper Princess, the author of Living on Almost Nothing. If you are interested in purchasing my book, I will go ahead and leave a link down in the description box below. Yes. Okay. So I am in my gym slash, yeah, this is my gym. I'm in the forest. Very, very close to my house. Beautiful walking trails. And you can't tell, but I am literally surrounded by blackberry bushes. So, of course, I'm out here picking blackberries, and right now it's July, but I'm going to save this video for the winter time because I know a lot of people in the winter time sometimes feel drab and dreary, and it's you know, it gets hectic out there, or it gets kind of crazy, and sometimes you want to just be out in nature, but you can't because it's cold, it's windy, it's raining, it's snowing. So I'm saving this video in the summertime so you all can enjoy it in the winter. So I want to talk to you guys today about just something interesting that's been on my mind. So I am a huge fan of Dolly Freed, Possum Living. I also like Mark Boyle, The Moneyless Man, but this is my favorite book of all time. I mean, look at it. My dogs have chewed it up. It's in pieces. You know, it's obviously very well worn. I've read this book 30 times and I keep going back to it. But these are some interesting things. So Possum Living, if you're not familiar, Dolly Freed is one of the pioneers of living on almost nothing. When she was a teenager, she wrote this book, Possum Living, and she shows people how she lived on basically the poverty line between her and her father, actually half of below the poverty line for her and her father. So back then, I think it was $14,000 would give it. No, that's not right. Sorry. So they lived on $1,498.75. So $1,500 for a full year. That's all they spent in a year between her and her father. And adjusted for inflation, that $1,500 comes out to $7,013.53 in today's dollars. And it still rings true today if you do the calculations. But I want to go over a couple of things that she did that I do, and things that I don't. And could I live on $7,013.53 a year? Yes, easily. I could. Absolutely. But things, I spend money on certain things that she did not, that I'll just explain. So the breakdown of it's on page 21. It starts on the bottom of page 21 of the book. She goes over all of the expenses. I've been picking blackberries. I'll talk about that in a little bit. And so the first one is food. They spent an equivalent in today's dollars of $1258.29. So that's $100 a month. Now in 1970, I believe if I remember correctly, they spent a much larger percentage of their income on food back then. Back then, it was like 20 or 25% of their income went towards food. So food to income ratio was much more expensive. Here now in 2023, it's the percentage wise is much less. So that would come out to $1,250 a year or $100 a month. Could I do that? I do that. I live off of about $100 a month on food. And you can go ahead and go back in the channel, look on how to live on $30 a week, which is, I make those videos for you guys, but I actually live on less than that. And I have a very specific way that I do it. I buy meat once every 6 months, and I freeze it. I put it into 3 or 4 ounce portions, depending on what type of meat it is. I cook all my meals 1 week at a time. For starters, I grow a lot, and that's something that they did too. So they fished without a fishing license. We'll get into that. So they fished for fish, turtles, and they grew their own rabbits and chickens for eggs. I'll get into that a little bit later because food is the big thing that most people think about. They had moonshine. They made their own moonshine for $4.60 a year. I don't drink alcohol at all. But we'll go with that with being my coffee addiction. So that's about even. Soap and paper products came out to, in today's dollars, $222.05. Fuel oil, $7.50, $6.50. Today's dollars. Cooking gas, $407.17. Electricity, $473.76. Property taxes, $1338.36. Clothing, $62.38. This is all for a year, by the way. Luxuries came out to $117 for a year. And then other, including tools and laundry, was $347.79. Now, she did a lot of things like, okay, she raised chickens for eggs, rabbits for meat. They fished for fish turtles. They bought their food in bulk from feed stores, like their wheat, soy, cracked corn, potatoes in 50-pound sacks. And they had no car and no home improvements or appliances like a TV, dishwasher, heat and air conditioning, etc. And one of the other ways that she saved is they had no insurance. Like, since they didn't have a car, they had no car insurance. They didn't pay for home insurance, medical insurance. They didn't pay for any of that, none of it. And they never accepted welfare, but they never paid for any of that. So I'm very comparable to her in many ways. So their electricity, I have solar, so I actually make money off of my electricity. I use less electricity than I produce. So PG&E sends me a check or a credit to my bill each year, and I didn't pay for the solar. The solar came with the house. One of the other things that they did regarding their house, she talks about it in her book, how they went to a sheriff's sale and they bought their house for like $6,000. Now, I'm not familiar with sheriff sales. I'm assuming it's like a short sale or an auction or a foreclosure. Now, I bought a house in Arizona for $67,000 in cash. And I live in Northern California, where in California, the average home price or median, I don't know, is about $750,000. I paid less than $200,000 for my house. So, you know, buying the fancy 3-bed, and of course it's a fixer-upper. Of course there's, you're not going to get a $200,000 house in California that doesn't require repairs. And it's the same for them. Oh my God, I'm looking at these blackberries. I can't take it. Oh God, I'm just staring at them. Okay, so it's gonna be the same. You know, you have to look outside the box. You have to talk to your real estate agent. You have to tell them, I want short sales, I want pre-foreclosures, I want this, I want that, and they'll help you find them. They will. My house never even made it to market because it was a private sale before it even made it to market. So that's how I got my house so cheap, and people can still do that all over the country. So there's the housing, and then so they they fished, foraged for most of their food. So I'm out here. This is what I do. So I'm out here picking blackberries. So I have 3 Tupperwares in my backpack, and they're all full, and I ran out of room. So I've just been eating them as I go along. Now, in this area where I am, this is a part of the trail that nobody ever comes to. And then there's also plums. Now you're like, those aren't plums, those are cherries. They're too small to be plums. No, they're plums and they're ripe. Look at my fingers. So these are plums. So, oh, it's good. So I ran out of room in my Tupperware, and so I've got blackberries, plums, and I'm looking up. Right now I'm looking up, and I'm looking at these giant bunches of wild blueberries. And there's one right there that I think I can reach. And there's also grapes out here, which are not ripe yet. So it's July, and the blackberries are going to be good through August because it's very microclimated here. So there's sun and there's shade. The blackberries that are in the sun are obviously going to become ripe sooner than the ones that are in the shade. So for the next couple months, I'm going to come here every couple of days and fill up on blackberries. I'm going to freeze them in my freezer, and I'm going to make them into, like, I don't know, syrup or drinks with my soy milk that I make at home. I don't make them into jam anymore. That's what I used to do, but I don't eat bread anymore. It makes me gain weight like crazy. And no, I didn't pay for this either. This came as a gift when I moved into my house. I kept getting these coupons for free 24 packs of water, and I've been here a year now, and I still have them all because I just refill them from my Berkey. And also something I do, so if I see a nice piece of wood that's super dry, while I'm out here, is I will pick up the wood and I'll take it home with me, because I don't have a barbecue anymore. But I have a little bonfire thing that has a grill on top, so it doubles as like a barbecue grill, except it doesn't have a top enclosure to keep the heat in. So I'm really only I have to really keep an eye on the fire and stuff like that. But I don't want to pay for charcoal. So if I like charcoal just as much as I like wood, why not just go ahead and pick up the wood for free that, you tripped over on a trail or something like that. And so I'm totally picking those blueberries. Oh my gosh. So out here in this area, blackberries, plums, blueberries, and grapes. We actually have a park that I showed you all when I said, I made a video about if you don't have medical insurance, do this. And that park is geared towards the people of the community. It's got literally free gym equipment everywhere, and it's also a food forest. So over there, they grow wild, it's not kiwi, figs. Wild figs. And there's also cattails, which I don't know if you've ever had them. They taste like celery when you cut the stalk off at the bottom. They've got blueberries and citrus trees, walnuts, almonds. So pretty much I don't have to grocery shop at the store. I can forage during the peak seasons and then just freeze it for later. Also, I have my own fruit trees. Only 2 are producing so far because they came with the house. They were well-established orange trees, so I have 2 well-established orange trees. My neighbor just gives me her lemons. And I also planted 2 cherry trees and an apple tree that grows 3 different types of apples, and a pear tree that grows 2 different kinds of pears. So I'm pretty sure that I'm set on fruit. I also grow my own greens, and I'm learning how to do it throughout the year, but I don't really eat leafy greens very often because they offer vitamins and minerals, but no calories. So it's, if you're taking a multivitamin or something, they don't really do that much. But anyway, so back to what I was saying about Dolly Freed. So my biggest bills are taxes and insurance. So I live on about $1,200 a month. I haven't gone over it in a few months, and it doesn't really count right now because I'm also budgeting $1,000 a month to fix up my house. But so that's why it's taking so long. I am not going to take money out of my retirement or my savings, my emergency fund, in order to do house renovations. That's not what they're meant for. So I'm doing it as I go along. But there's a few things about Dolly and her father that I wouldn't want. So there's a video on YouTube about her, and they show her house. Her house has no paint on the walls. Hand-me-down furniture, which is great. I don't care about hand-me-down furniture, but I don't want drywall and that's it. I want paint. I want a comfortable couch. I want comfortable surroundings. So I'm not willing to sleep on the floor or not have paint or air conditioning because I'm getting older, but I'm not willing to not have heat and air. They are. And they're willing to go without a car, and I very rarely use my car, and I've considered getting rid of it because where I live, everything is is within a half mile of my house. And we're talking police station, fire department, library, post office, grocery shopping, stores, hardware store. Everything is within a half mile of my house. So I can ride my e-bikes all day long, and I probably wouldn't have to charge them for 4 or 5 months. And then I'd just charge them off of my free solar. The only thing I use my car for is to visit my family, which is a couple hours away. I watch too much Mr. Ballin. I do not need to disappear in this forest. Oh my gosh, that's so many blueberries. Oh, that whole top of that tree. You can't see it. Can you? Oh, no, you can't see it. The whole top of that tree line is wild black blueberries. I can't go 2 steps without looking. I'm looking at blackberries right now. Look. So I take a lot of inspiration from Dolly. If I were to get rid of my car insurance, medical insurance, home insurance, yes, I could live on $7,000 a year. But because I pay, I have a high income. Well, high income for me, average for the average American, but I have no debt. And I think that the prerequisite for living on almost nothing is to have no debt, including your mortgage. And then people always say, well, it would be so easy. I could do it easily if all my debt were paid off. So pay off your debt. Well, I don't make enough money. How much is your car? Well, it's a $60,000 car and my monthly payment's $800. How much is your house? Oh, it's $500,000. Oh, okay. So me, I can get a house for $67,000. I can get a house in California for $200,000, but you can't. But you can't. Why? Why can't you? And I've seen houses. Oh man, I came across a house. I was so upset right when I moved here. When you buy a house and you're not planning on moving for a while, do yourself a favor. Don't torture yourself with looking at other houses, because that was such a big mistake. So I'm like, okay, I paid less than $200,000. And then like 2 months after I moved here, I saw like a 3-bed, 2-bath, move-in ready. It needed paint for like $160. And it was closer, it was further south. So it was even closer. Oh man, it was even closer to where I wanted to be. But I was like, ah. And of course it's a foreclosure, so you have to have the cash. And I don't have the cash because I just bought a house. So someday, folks, 3 or 4 years from now, I'll probably be shopping for another 3 more years, and I'll be shopping for another house to do this all over again, because it's what I enjoy doing. Anyway, so if you all find somebody who offers you inspiration, maybe it's me, inspiration for living on almost nothing, accumulating your wealth, because I don't think that people are meant to live on nothing unless that is what they want to do and what they enjoy doing. I'm in a very fortunate position where I prefer this any day over going to the movies or dining out or spending money at Chuck E. Cheese or whatever it is that people do these days. I much rather do this than what they do, spending their money every day, any day of the week. And is it work or is it leisure that I'm out here? That's another thing that they talk about in their YouTube video. She was out bird watching and swimming while her father was fishing, and they would collect nuts and berries as they were out. But is it, they're working for food, but they're also enjoying themselves. So is it work or is it leisure? So I'm here doing the same thing. I'm collecting fruits to store for the winter, wood for cooking my food. But is it Is it work or is it leisure? Because I'm going to pull out my book and start reading it here in a few minutes. I'm out here in the forest to read my book and enjoy the sounds of nature and hopefully not get picked up by Bigfoot. Missing 411. Mr. Ballin is awesome. Just want to say that. But it'll scare you to go outside in the forest. This is after washing my hands. And after I do this walk, I'm going to go take a dip in the river because it's 100 degrees out and I'm dripping sweat. All right, folks. If you want to be like someone, think about that person and emulate what they do. Don't copy what they do, but emulate. So mimic what they do. If you want to be rich, do what rich people do. If you want to live on almost nothing, do what people who live on almost nothing do. So my inspiration, I'm not even the original. Dolly Freed is the original. For wealth building, Dave Ramsey is the original. I just copy what he told me to do. And then I tell you guys how to do it. All right, folks, do what you can with what you've got. Prepper Princess out.
Oh, yes. I'll bring it back tonight on my way home from dinner and answer.
Oh, that would be just fine.
Oh, jeez.